Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today's October 13, 2024. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with Sally Rousse today. Where in the heck you calling in from, Sally?
Thanks for having me. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
That's very cool. The first question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing is laughter.
Oh my God, I love that answer. And what's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Face to face, in person,
Yeah.
um, not in a at a big crowd, but kind of small group, one-on-one for me.
Beautiful. That's called direct experience. Most people say that. They love that as their favorite form of information. Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
Huh, why do people collect or gather information? I mean, I think for some people, it's affirming. For some
Yeah.
people, it's I'm a very curious person. Um, And always figuring out where I belong and, um, not so much my identity, but, how is it the same? Like, even I've even forgotten the question.
Well, no,
Why do
it's
we gather? No, why do we
why why do we collect or gather information? We're going to go into a lot of these topics. Like identity is really important, but you emphasize things like affirming and curiosity. I think that I get curiosity a lot. And do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented?
I think it's innate. I think
Yeah.
we're animals who are hungry, and sometimes that hunger is for food, and sometimes it's for contact, and sometimes it's for information. I mean, I got a new cat, and she's just always, like, looking.
Yeah.
She's always like, "What's that? What's that? I wonder if"
Yeah.
I think that's what she's doing. I wonder if that's like, what and then I'm always thinking, "Why don't you understand that I'm over here and my hand can't reach you, but you're, like, longing for my" Anyway, our brains are different, but I do think that yeah, I think that even as we're evolving and stuff, I think that
It's
we're
more innate.
curious. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're innately curious and
Yeah.
wondering, "Do I do that? Have I been here before? Like, do I need that? Or am I happy?" Which
Yeah.
is a question I ask myself too often. You should not ask yourself too often.
Well, listen, you're anticipating a lot of our questions, but the
Oh,
next one is, do thoughts create emotions?
do thoughts create emotions? I think so. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I would think so. I mean, yeah, I think they have to because we have, self-preservation also just, yeah, thoughts create emotions. And in my line of work in dance, you have to think of the emotion that your character is conveying in order for you to, like I almost have to say the thing to myself, like, is it true? Or, like to sort of make that gesture come out of my body, not my mouth. So I think the emotion, I'm so sorry that happened. Let me just do something.
Yeah.
Um,
No worries. Because
yeah.
again, you anticipated the next question exactly. You must have ESP.
I
Fill in
know.
the blank, Sally. I don't know what I think until
Until I move.
wow, I never get that answer. That's really good. See, McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. And a lot of people say, I don't know what I think until I do it or experience it. But being a dancer, saying move is amazing because movement includes so many things.
Yeah.
Can humans think without language?
Yeah, I think so. Without language, because we're languageless when we're born and we're thinking. Thinking doesn't mean you have words.
That's
They're
right.
thoughts, they're concepts, they're gestures. Think of a baby, or a yeah, without language, thinking. It's emotion, don't you think?
Well, it's both and neither. See, all these binary questions I asked at the beginning are basically it's both and it depends. But basically, what I'm asking for is any thoughts. I'm not really seeking an answer to the questions. They're
Oh,
just prompts. They're just prompts, and you can tell stories, anecdotes, go off on tangents. See, Chomsky says the language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
when language breaks down, uh, I feel emotional about that question. I think a language breaks down for me, including gestural, physical language, often. I think that it breaks down on texts and emails. They don't convey the tone. When I'm teaching, especially beginners or little kids, and the language isn't working, it's almost like they need the example, they need the visual all the time. But I don't want to give them the visual all the time because dance is much more intellectual than they even think to say
Yeah,
anything. When language breaks down, it's hard for me. I shut down and
yeah,
I leave. I like go to the corner or I leave the house and I go into a different motion. I usually walk away or go in the shower or leave this. Like it's very hard. It's very hard for me. I've always been really verbal and attentive, and I don't understand when people are not paying attention and taking it in. I'm the context I'm speaking with is just my week has been so like I'm teaching so much, maybe almost too much. That's why I'm coming to California next week so I can have a break and not be in the position to teach and to keep on talking and being one of the only people in the room talking as the
yeah,
teacher, but to just be quiet and take in and not instruct people and not correct people and criticize people and judge people, which sounds like that's not all that teaching is, but for ballet, that's kind of what I've been doing. And I just want to step back and stop judging so much. It's required of me to like help people through pointing out what they're doing well and what they could do better or how they can get through this problem. And
well,
language is really important in my line of work. I mean, I do a lot of metaphors and that seems to help. And I have, definitely I have to demonstrate and be visual, but I have to find metaphors for a lot of what I'm trying to convey.
yeah,
And that is when the aha moments come for a lot of people. And they'll say, if someone says, like today, someone said, that was a great class today. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, that thing you said about ball change or, whatever it was. And it's like something clicked for them and you can see it, but it doesn't click for everybody. It's not the same
yeah.
metaphor that works for everybody. But so
But
when
what
it breaks down, it makes me feel bad.
Well, first of all, what you said is good. I've had that. What do you do when language breaks down? Take a walk. You said walk away. And you also said be quiet. Pascal, the mathematician philosopher, said all the problems of the world could be solved if we could learn how to sit quietly in a room. So, we think you always, I mean, Yoga to me is an amazing thing. I do it once a week, and Susie, my wife's a great teacher, but it's all about, in the big picture, my opinion, the wording. How she
Yeah.
words what we're doing. We're basically going through breathing and body stretches exercises. But
Mhm.
how do you say it? Like I had a yoga teacher once say, scooch your leg over. And I just love, she goes, scooch. That's like kind of a great slangy word, but you
Yeah.
don't think of a yoga teacher saying scooch.
I love
But
it.
any
I like all the words. I
yeah,
like all the
and
weird
that's
little
what
words.
you're doing metaphor. You're, like, trying to put the so you're Sally, you're up I really appreciate this. You're really, articulate and concise, and this is, like, your observations of humans in general. Are we more feeling beings or more thinking beings?
I can't say more thinking or feeling. Ah, it's 50-50.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do think, um, the ancient thought of, like, man is thought and woman is body, or, uh, mal you know what I mean? Those things, those tropes
yeah,
are, still with us, and so, we think thinking male, these binaries are dissolving. They're very fluid now and slippery. And female is verbal or body.
yeah.
That's let's scooch that one right the hell out the door.
Let's scooch it out the door, because it's beautiful
And
what
the
you said, because humans invented the words feeling and thinking, so we think we can separate them, but you can't. They're really, just like you said,
Yeah,
50-50. And I
yeah,
again, I welcome people saying, "I don't know, I can't answer that." Like, I'm not trying to kit you, like, trick you. I'm like, people not knowing is important, or saying, "I can't answer that." But, Bridget Bardot says, "When I make love, I don't think." And I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off when you're doing this sensual thing? And it's like people who meditate, they go, now think about not thinking. And so there's a bumper sticker on a car on my street that says, don't believe everything you think. And I go, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
yeah, sure. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. So these are two questions from Alan Turing in the '50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Ooh, is thinking a function of the soul? Mm, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes?
Yeah,
I don't know. I would say sometimes. Ooh, I love that question.
yeah. And then the second Turing question is, can machines think?
No. Not
There's no right or
in the
wrong
way that I think of it. I
yeah,
know
there's
that's
no
like a really stupid answer. It's like, you're not
no, it
supposed
is.
but
It's
I'm
like,
gonna say no.
yeah, there's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right. Sally, do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Ooh. Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's ask me on one day to the next, meaning or happiness. I suppose 60% happiness, 40% meaning.
Yeah. What you said reminded me of my mom when I asked her if I could interview her years ago. She goes, "I don't know. Everything I say today might be different tomorrow." So I says, "That's all right, because I'm not trying to hold you to these." But I got the question from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, because he says happiness doesn't tend to last, meaning does tend to last. So
Mhm.
it's interesting how they cross over. Does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
Oh my gosh. Um, I suppose I would tend to the latter, that we're creating consciousness. Um, I immediately think about sleep and the dreams and, the lucid dream, things that are happening. Like I have a lot of really interesting dreams and I wake up and I want to go back on there. I want to control the dream dream a little bit. And my consciousness allows me sometimes to go back to sleep and continue, but then it goes off in a direction I didn't intend. But I think sometimes I literally have to just take my head, like I actually have to do this gesture of like taking my head off
Yeah.
and stop overthinking everything.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about it. Stop imagining, controlling, all that stuff. And I don't know. I have to do it physically. Like I have to physically take my brain
Yeah.
off and stop. It's so funny. At the same time, I want to put the brain onto other people.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's like what you said about lucid dreaming. That's what Tim Leary said, that if you learn how to lucid dream, when you die, you can direct your path for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Now, who knows if that's true, but you're actually practicing that by going, saying, "Okay, I'm in this dream. Now I woke up a little. I'm sort of in more of a daydream state. Can I return to that spot?" Or can I
Mm.
recover that, story or scenario that's going on. So what's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Faster speed of thought.
Duh! Again, there's no right or wrong answers, but that one you got right. Okay, this is Audre Lorde, the poet.
Oh,
You can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, "No, you can if you expose the tools." What new tool do you suggest?
I guess I'm a big fan of both those people, by the way. Yvonne Rainier, the dance choreographer, amazing mind, and Audre Lorde, who not just a poet, but an active, everyone knows that probably, but um, I feel that I feel like perspective is the new tool.
Wow, that is good.
Oh, I feel like it is a test. This is an exam.
Well, no, it's amazing because, Sally, some people have trouble because I open some of these questions with cute quotes and then they try to. Really the question is, what tool do you most gravitate towards? And then you can add the word new if you want, and then you can apply it to both Audre
Right.
Lorde and Yvonne Rainer's quotes. But perspective is an amazing answer. I don't think I've ever gotten that as a new tool because when you say the word tool, people feel like I'm implying a tangible tool, but perspective is a tool
Mhm.
and it's not something you can maybe so much hold in your hand. So, what new toy do you suggest?
Um, a new toy. I'm so sorry. I'm distracted because my child is arriving and I haven't seen them for a couple months and they're literally arriving. I think they're outside right now. Can you just
Yeah,
um
what I'll do is I'll talk.
no, no, it's fine. So what
Okay,
toy do I suggest?
yeah.
Hmm, now I can hear this person. Okay. Sorry. Um um God, I hate gaming, by the way. So immediately I'm like, "Mm." I mean, everything is play for me, so I don't know. What toy? Can you give me an example of a toy?
Well, again, you did tool as a non-tangible perspective. So a toy can be anything. You can just say the new toy you suggest is play, is a verb.
But what
Yeah.
I'm interested in what you would say.
Well, people say everything. They go, if they're gamers, they'll say maybe this new AI program. I tell you, one of my favorite answers was a guy who lives near you, and he said when I'm walking down a path in the woods with my grandchildren and they pick up something and turn it into a toy, the new toy I suggest is the next one that I'm going to invent, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's sort of like anything that's being you can be playful with. You see, because there is a difference. People tend to go, I'm going to work, or what do you do for your job? When your job is music, you go, I'm going to play music. You don't say, I'm going
Mhm.
to work it. In fact, someone brought it to my attention the word artwork. Like you want, as an
Ah,
artist, you want to be playful, but are you working at it? You're a craftsman and you're painting and you're doing work. Well, the bottom line is like your profession is, I most admire because of what Bob Fosse said. He said, no, Sam Wasson's book about Bob Fosse, one of them says, Bob Fosse had his dancers acting like they were dancing or playing like they were dancing. It wasn't like, here's the dance. It was more like, play like you're dancing, you know.
huh.
And and so just entering that realm of more being playful than like doing a chore or a job, you know. So I think
Yeah.
it's just incorporating that word play. Okay, what do you worry about when you go to a bed at night?
I worry about my children,
Yeah.
even though they're grown-up adults. Um, yeah, I just worry about my children. I wanna make sure not too much, but, like, I just you know, if I haven't heard from them
Yeah.
for a week or so, I'm like, "Ooh, what's going on?"
Yeah.
Um, just their everything. I worry about the world these days. That's something I just yeah, I just really worry about. I don't even wanna talk about it now, but
No, that's
it's
all
like,
right. You covered
no,
it.
it's okay, but I worry about it's just such a fighting like, people are so uncivilized,
Yeah.
even on the road, like, just, like, the lack of civility.
Lack of civility is huge.
Gosh.
It's like that's I mean, it's a simple line. Can't we all just get along? I mean, that isn't that the purpose of we're more hardwired for cooperation than we are for war. In fact, I believe we've been brainwashed that that's what matristic civilization is. The female gives birth and we are not hardwired for violence and war, but most people go, "Oh no, we're probably hardwired for it." No, we're not. We're hardwired for cooperation. For
Yeah, for
getting
touch,
along,
for connection,
for connection. That's
right.
it.
Oh, I
So,
never
yeah, so McLuhan learned from the poet that artists are the antenna of the race. So I mean artists as dancers, painters, authors. Artists are the antenna of the race, and they're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions. So we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Sally, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I don't know. I love that. I do feel sometimes we are from the future, artists.
Yeah,
But I think of artists so many different like, I think a plumber is an artist, so, I
that's
mean
no, it doesn't. I don't want to sound elitist because plumbers are artists.
yeah.
Everybody is an artist. I mean, that Joseph Beuys said everybody's an artist. So, do artists have moral obligation?
Oh, I hate that term, moral obligation. I mean, more moral? You mean like more than a normal.
That is good because see, it's me and you versus the wording on the question. And
Yeah.
I like when people change the wording or suggest a different word because that word more is amazing. Some of my questions earlier were, is it more this or more that? And this woman once said, The word more doesn't function in your question. And in your case, you added it. Like,
More, oh,
do artists have more of a moral obligation? Because a lot of people answer it like this: we all have moral obligation. Well, we know that everybody kind of has a moral obligation, back to
yeah,
cooperation. But do artists have moral obligation? Like, meaning, yeah, that's good.
nope. Big, big stinky face on that one.
Good
No.
gesture. Good gesture answer. Okay, are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Ooh, I'm more afraid of old ideas.
Yeah,
I mean, as a feminist, a womanist, um, a person doing anti-racist work, which I will be doing all my whole life, my own work. Um, yeah, the new ideas are I support.
yeah,
The old ideas are, sorry, a little scarier,
yeah,
patriarchal. Yeah.
yeah.
The old ideas had a function, but they came from so much fear, don't you think? They
Oh,
came
yeah,
out of so much fear
yeah.
and survival, and our brains have evolved a little from then, from those times, those reptilian brain fight or flight idea inducing impulses. Yeah, I think so. More afraid of the old ideas.
Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever, or one of them?
Oh, my earliest memory, I remember, what an interesting question. I would love to hear other people's things, but, I can remember, I think I remember being nonverbal, in my crib, and, I knew I mean, now I know that probably, I'm the youngest of 7, so there's always noise in the house, but I know that there was an event going on downstairs, and I of course, didn't know that. I just There were more voices and different voices, and I heard someone saying, like, "I think she's asleep," but I know now that I didn't understand the words, but I know those words. I know
Yeah,
that a baby knows, "I think she's asleep." Like,
yeah,
we hear this thing
yeah.
often as a baby, and
It's
I was
beautiful.
just like, "No, I'm not asleep. I'm wide awake."
Yeah,
Just wide awake, really wanting to be with the noises downstairs. I just was
that
like, I just am aware of it. I was super
yeah.
aware of that.
Well, that I have to insert this question I've just added because it's similar. The New Yorker had an article, "Do babies dream inside the womb?" So, or is it you have to be outside the womb to be able to have a dream? So we can't tell. I mean, you could do studies, but you can't come out of your mother's womb and say, "Dude, I had this dream last night." You can't describe it for maybe 3 to 5 years until you have language. So that's what, but can the baby actually dream inside the womb?
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's so much that happens inside the womb when the mother's carrying the baby and they're going through stress and trauma. The baby is born with a certain amount of stress or trauma also.
Yeah.
It becomes part of, yeah. So dreaming, yeah, sure. I
Yeah.
believe that's accepted, widely accepted.
Because Frank Lloyd Wright's mom put up pictures of buildings in the room where she was pregnant. And so she wanted him to become an architect. So, did the pictures go through the womb skin, or did her consciousness of putting up pictures and wanting him go into that? Or who knows? But, is
I think it was
memory,
more than the pictures.
yeah,
I think that it didn't stop once she gave birth. I'm sure
yeah,
she did more things. If
she
she was
kept
doing that when he was in the womb, then
yeah,
she was doing more things out of the womb. So I'm
out of the womb
sure that
too.
there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of environmental influences there.
Yep. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Is more memory Oh, blessing.
Yeah,
For me, I would think memory. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And,
Tell me, yeah,
fa false memory is still memory.
Yeah. Yep.
Failed memory.
Yep. Tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, kinda like a role model, and what specifically was that impact?
Ooh. Well, as I said, I have 4 brothers. I'm the youngest of 7, and there are 2 brothers who really impacted me. I guess the first one was my brother David, who, he really challenged me intellectually at a very young age, way too much. Like, he handed me a book about maybe Paul Tillich or existentialism, or it was a very thick book, and I think I was 9 years old. And the reason he handed me this book is because I had started taking ballet lessons when I was 7, and, my ballet teacher was very religious, very, Christian, and, it's not the kind of thing that would be okay today, but she would talk about it a lot in ballet class. And, um, so I was very much influenced by her, and then I would bring it to the family, all 9 of us, me and my parents and the 7 kids. And I would say, what do you think, David?" And he said, "I'm an atheist." And then he handed me, these books, and I think that that just really influenced me. And likewise, he went on to go to college. All my siblings went to well, all of the boys, I don't know if they all went to college, actually. Isn't that kinda weird? They all went to some kind of
Yeah.
secondary, but anyway, I'm old enough that I can remember that my mom said, "Well, the boys go to college, the girls, you know,
Wow.
they have to go
So
to."
so that
And my
was good to
sisters, yeah, but I think that that had an influence on me because he was always treated me like a thinker.
yeah. So now that was good. The same question outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Like, does it have to be when I was young or more
Oh, it
recent?
can be any time, yeah, in your life.
I'm
Someone who had a huge
I'm very easily influenced by so many people.
but
Um,
one person who had an impact on you, and you could specify what that impact was.
I think okay, then I have a friend who is a dance maker, and so I met her 31 years ago when I moved here, and, she still influences me, and her name is Judith Howard, and I often, scream across a courtyard, "I love Judith Howard, and I don't care who knows it." I just love her. I just love her as a friend, as a mentor, as a colleague, as a co-dancer. We've been in pieces together. I've been in her pieces where she's choreographed on me. I consulted with her when I was making, a really big breakthrough piece. And she just gives me license and agency to go there. I'll
Yeah,
say, "Ugh, I just want to do this," and I'll verbalize something, and she'll just say, "Well, do it." Well, it sounds so simple, but she it's like she's my consciousness, or she'll say,
yeah,
"You're already doing that. Who cares if it starts out as
mm,
a Marie Antoinette and turns into a horse galloping away?" I
yeah,
mean, who cares?
yeah,
That's what it is. And she has put so much into my head and about how dance is a metaphor and poetic. It's not an essay. It's not literal. And also, she's an incredible writer, and verbal. She's able to really, cut through my frustration. I know I shouldn't be talking so much, but anyway,
no, no, you should. That's what I told you. It's
she's
totally fine. I love it.
she, a lot of people think dancers aren't thinkers, or they're not speakers, or they're not writers, and it's such hooey pooey.
Yeah,
There, I just made it sound like dancers are not smart. But anyway, she really she just really makes it so that, um, dancers are verbal just because we're dancing and not talking.
Yeah,
We're not stupid. I mean, it's
yeah,
incredibly thoughtful, meaningful, and it's and intuitive, counterintuitive. Like, there's so much that goes into it, and we're all dancing.
yeah.
We're all dancers to some degree anyway. We're all movers. But anyway, she really influenced me, and yeah,
That's good,
I'm
Sally.
so glad she was born.
You're really giving me the picture. You're using language to describe things to me, and I feel like I'm getting it. So I appreciate that. Did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Well, my father was Catholic, and we were raised Catholic, but then he died, and so it started to let up a little bit, even though my mother would still take us to church, but it was a little less. I think it was less hardcore. I went through and I was confirmed in the Catholic Church when I was 12, but then I kind of followed my teacher, my ballet teacher, into a different kind of Christianity, and then, after about 20 years, I dropped that, and, I just stopped with organized religion altogether, and now for the past 20 something years, I've been a Buddhist. And
Wow. Do you pray?
chanting, praying, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
Well, that's a sticky thing about God. I mean, we're trying there is this God inside of me, that's God, but I do remember being devoted to an outer God as well, so I could play that. What would I like him to say to me? Her, him, that thing. It's if this were like a Vanity Fair questionnaire, I would say, "Well done."
That is the answer I get the most. But you evoked just before that, Sally, Peter O'Toole in The Ruling Class. He thinks he's God. Have you ever seen this movie? And he goes,
No. I love
"Yeah,
Peter.
oh, you got it." He says, I feel like, when I'm talking to God, I'm talking to myself." It's really a
Well,
great moment. So do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I mean, I have to put that question into the context of my Buddhism. We are the kind of Buddhism. I know there's many, many kinds of Buddhism, and the kind that I practice is very much, we are all have a Buddha nature, and so we're meant to see people who we think might be evil. We see them as having a Buddha nature, and we kind of course, have trouble seeing some people's Buddha nature more than others.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I have to put it in that context, I
Oh,
guess.
that was good. That's, you anticipated the next question again, and I just start off. The question is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But I don't usually say this one, but that's what Ram Dass says. He says, "I'm having a real hard time loving George Bush," or fill
Exactly.
in the blank. "I'm having a real hard time loving Putin," or whoever. But here's the other ones I just want to air before you answer the question.
By the way, I'm having a much easier time loving George Bush these days than I am other people.
Yeah, hello.
He's a lot
Those
everyone
yeah.
is lovable. You just gotta know what kinda animal they are,
Right.
right?
Well, this is what we're touching on right here. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola says, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK says, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And
Mm.
Fellini says, I need an enemy. So again, it's a lot of prompts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I mean, I don't know how you don't acknowledge them, Alan
Yeah.
Watts. I don't know. I mean, I I don't think I mean, I get hurt deeply when somebody, um, is my enemy.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had enemies, and then I sort of can find out, I was innocently thinking my whole life I don't have enemies, but
Yeah.
there are people who really I am not their cup of tea.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they may wish bad things about me, to me, you know what I mean? Like beyond not caring for me. But it really, I had an altercation with somebody out of the blue last year, about a year ago, almost to the day, and it still stings. And it
Yeah.
mostly is like this person put words in my mouth and misunderstood me, and there was no way to convince them otherwise. And it's so frustrating. I mean, I'm not saying I can be a friend to everybody, but that person I think sees me as an enemy, and that's just I can't I have to acknowledge this person. I'm not going to pretend this person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn from it, but it's been it's very hard.
It's
Yeah.
very
And I'm
hard.
sure they're saying things about
Yeah.
me. There's
Well,
nothing you can do. There
but
is
I'm
nothing you can
saying,
do, but I can't
like,
not acknowledge this
right,
person.
but, like, if your kid one of your children came home and they were said, "I'm being bullied," what advice would you give them? How do you advise them to deal with that?
Yeah. I used to say to one of them, you have to be like the lotus flower and grow through the swamp in
Oh,
its
that's good.
plasticky, waxy way that flower does, and just not take on any of the muck that you're growing with. And it's not and you're right there with them. You're no
Yep,
better. You're right
yep.
there in the swamp with these other things. I love the lotus flower imagery for that.
No, you're great with metaphors, that's good because Nassim Taleb said, "Games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is." Gregory Bateson says if the criminal gets caught, does he go, "Whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day"? Or does he go, "Oh, I did something morally and socially wrong"? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
Hmm. I mean, a lot of what you just said is like I wanna just spar with. I mean, I feel like hero is a tricky word and a tricky concept that I
Yeah.
wanna just unpack that. I mean, a lot of
Please
people
go ahead. No, see,
well,
Sally, no
I
one
think a lot
listens.
of
No one
people wanna
listens.
they need to feel like heroes,
Yeah,
and I feel like I've been used so that somebody can feel like a hero, and when I'm on my feet and that's when the trouble starts. So I just kinda feel like I don't know. The other part of what you said, could you say that again about after the hero part, the second half of what
that was great. Well, I dropped this one, but I'll add this one. Villains don't think they're bad,
oh,
they want control. Heroes want freedom. It's sort of like Bateson Gregory Bateson says, "When the criminal gets caught, does he go, 'Whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff,'
but you
or
said
does"
punishment. Does punishment work?
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry to
that's
interrupt.
the question. The
That's what the
question
question was.
yeah, the
Does
question
punishment
is
work? Yeah,
when the
well,
line.
consequences work,
Yeah,
but not being punitive.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. See,
yeah.
that's
Being
listen,
punitive, no. Punishing, but the consequences, there are always
yeah.
consequences. Yeah,
See,
and then
you
it points to shame and that kind of
yeah,
thing, and shame has got, um creeps into conversation a lot lately, like, you shouldn't be shaming someone, and in my line of work, there's a lot of shame.
yeah.
There's a lot of body shaming, there's a lot of shame that you made a mistake or, these things, and it's like, well, I'm not shaming you. You didn't do the step right,
Yeah,
and there's a scientific way we could apply to it, or there's like an
yeah,
energetic way we could apply the solution to that. That's not shaming.
yeah,
Yeah. And also, um, people aren't always shaming somebody. Someone might feel ashamed. Like, I'm often, as a former Catholic, I'm often ashamed about,
Yeah.
or definitely not proud of things. But that's me. That's just
Yeah.
me. That's I'm
Yeah.
not like gonna hold the entire church responsible. Although
Yeah.
I could, I actually could hold the entire but,
There's a book called Once a Catholic, where
mm,
they go through all these people saying that. But, I was raised Catholic, and I don't regret the disservices of the Catholic Church, and I celebrate the services that it taught me. But most people our age diss whatever religion they were raised. They just go, "Oh, religion, blah, 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 blah." But I find that it did things for me, like help me celebrate being together with the community, singing, religious iconography, and other things. But I know the the corruption or the disservices, so it's how you integrate both of them. But, well, the one thing I've noticed, Sally, is you're a good listener. You listen to the questions and you just don't you're not just reactive, so that's I appreciate that. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I go outside and see a real tree?" And years later, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
I think that we go to see live performance or recorded, film performance, because it emphasizes there's an emphaticness to it, a sort of bold, like if we were writing it in bold.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes it's a controlled creation,
yeah,
directing your eye a specific way. Again, perspective. And I think that it's really, sometimes we need to have that emphatic, doesn't mean it's loud, but emphasized reproduction of what's going on
yeah.
because we didn't see it. Our eyes aren't open. We're not open to seeing it in real life. So it is good to sit down and gaff tape your arms to the chair and your legs to the floor and to the chair and make you sit and watch it, as maybe
Yeah.
Warren Beatty likes to say. Like, he likes it when you have to go to a theater and get, like, stuck there. You can't get up and pause it and do all that. But I think that it's true, like, we're so used to not going out and sitting in our chair and watching a thing. I mean, I'll see something next week when I'll go to a play, and, I think definitely, there's I'm I'm in the performing arts. I definitely think that we should, um, live life also, go outside and see a tree, but also, James Joyce, you need to have seen things. You need to s I mean,
Yeah,
he's the one who said, "Why do I need to see a film of a tree or a projection?" Being
yeah,
the first projectionist. But yeah, no, I mean, I think, um, that's a lot of hubris, right? To think that I can I know how to take in everything that I need.
yeah.
No, you don't.
Well,
No, you don't.
Mike Kelly says art is making your problems other people's problems. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, we're getting so into the rhetoric of stuff and the idiomatic phrases, but I mean, I don't know. Sometimes,
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
sometimes. I mean, I think that even seeing something that's bad,
yeah,
let's just say, I that was not for me, or just it was badly done. There's a lot of value in that, only because it makes me think, like, what were the rehearsals like for that? Or, what
that's
if I
good.
did I don't know,
Well, well,
like, did they want this to okay, so
yeah.
it's just
No, that's a really good point. See, you know deeper level in what it means to make art. Because here's the poet Fanny Howe. I don't get this. I don't understand it, but I ask people what they think. The point of art is to show people that life is worth living by showing that it isn't.
I don't know. I mean, I think I'm everyone's saying about the point of art or the reason for ugh. It's exhausting.
No, it is. It's
I
like,
mean,
just
to
do
have
it.
this, like, little thing to say about it or
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, maybe Oscar Wilde. What would Oscar Wilde say about art? Does he
Well,
must
that's
have
really
something.
good. I love your question. Like John Cage would say, "It's a great question. I wouldn't wanna ruin it with an answer, but I will because both Warhol and McLuhan said art is anything you can get away with."
I
And,
like that better. I
and
like
then
that better. It's more
how about this
audacious.
one? This is even better. This is McLuhan's main one. "The Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can."
Ooh.
That's, you know, that's basically it, wrapped up, you just you like you saying, the plumber can consider their calling in life art. So what was your tipping point to become a dancer? Like, are you did your parents say go to ballet classes or did you pick it? And then where did you see that's my tipping point, that's my calling in life?
Um, I I started dancing, people enroll in September or whatever, and beginning of the school year, they start classes or whatever, and I didn't know that I didn't know there was such a thing as ballet or classes or anything like that, and a profession of being a ballet dancer. I had no fantasy of ballet or anything like that. All I know is a friend at school was like, "Oh, I have to go to ballet class." And I was like, "What is that?" And then I
What age is that about?
7,
Wow,
2nd
okay.
grade.
Yeah.
2nd grade, and I was like, "What is that?" And, "Oh, I just do this once or twice a week," and I'm like, "Oh," and I just instantly knew I needed to do that, and my mother was like, "Well, that's gonna cost I'm the youngest of 7, and we at that point, my father had died, she was all alone, and, somehow she worked it out so I could take classes, and I carpooled with this friend, and, and I did a little placement class in the beginning, and I was very monkey see me. I could copy everything. And the teacher was like, "Are you sure you've never danced? You've never had ballet lesson?" And I was like, "No, I think I'm just able to follow." So I got put into the advanced class immediately. I didn't know what I was doing. I just copied everybody around me, and I was, like, eyes open and sucking it in, and I just knew immediately. I think I knew before I even took my first class. I was like it was almost like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm supposed to be a ballet dancer. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god,
Oh,
there's
and
a
I should
great
probably take some classes." And
dude,
then I
that is
think a month or 2 later, I held my first solo concert that I
that
concocted
is
on my own.
but I gotta slip in really fast, Sally. There's a great joke I tell students all the time. I say, "The kid gets to the age where they realize that their parents have a job, and the dad was an art teacher." So the kid says, "Well, what do you do, dad, for your job?" And he goes, "I teach people how to draw." And the kid goes, "You mean they forgot?" So that's what it was. You were dancing, but did you grow up watching, West Side Story on TV or Peter Pan? Was there any sort of thing where you were, your family was having Motown dance parties? I mean, how did it
I think we
come
did
in?
have some Motown dance parties.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think we did have some we were, I grew up and we had a stereo, one of those
yeah,
gigantic
yeah,
and, records. We played records and, it was the '70s,
yeah,
it was just, like, great music.
yeah. So then, Sally, you eventually become a choreographer and an educator and many more things. But a screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're choreographing a Sally dance? You're not so much paid to do an assignment. You're going to make a Sally dance. What role does intention play in that process?
I would say, unfortunately, that it plays a big role. I think I think intention is good, but I'll say this, that the intention is not the point. I I think too much, in my opinion, I think too much about what the audience will make of it, what they will
Yeah,
walk out feeling and thinking.
yeah,
And that trips me up lately. It's a little bit too much. I don't know how to get out of it,
yeah.
um, other than just, slapping some stuff up against the wall. But I'm actually like really blocked by that right now.
That's amazing because you have ESP. The next question is, Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much do you think of your audience when you're
Too
make,
much.
making your done? So this is funny because now we go to Ruth Draper. She says the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. Hey, that sounds good, but how do you do that?
That sounds okay. I don't know
But
if you
how
saw
do
the
you
book.
do that?
Well,
Yeah,
did you see the book that in the book?
I love your book.
Oh, in the back, there's a QR code. Thank you for
Yeah,
there's a QR code, and you can watch my most recent piece
yeah,
on that QR code. And it's oddly, because I know you have anyway, it's
yeah,
it's awake. It's called, what does it say? Awake. I held awake for myself. And
yeah,
so the audience is escorted and was around a courtyard. And in the courtyard, I made a mini cemetery of photos. I took hundreds of pictures of tombstones. Um, and you know all about that. But anyway, when they get to the end, I'm in this little alcove laying down with things around me, and they have to sit there for 5 minutes just watching me lay there.
and you're not
So,
moving.
oh no, I'm not. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm breathing. Clearly, I'm breathing. I
yeah,
can't like, I mean, I'm not performing in a way that, so it's really them. They're looking at each other. They're
yeah.
creating the performance for that moment. And then you'll have to see what happens after five
That's amazing.
minutes.
Because that's the biggest thing in my life is Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, and we often refer to it as the wake, and you refer to it as awake, and that implies a lot because if you put the word a in front of the word wake, it's the opposite of what awake is. You're awake.
Yeah.
You're alive. So
Yeah.
this is Leonard Cohen. The only way you can sell a concert is to put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk have in your creative process?
Risk is a lot. I risk being misunderstood. I risk being, mm, yeah, being misunderstood mostly. I think that I risk also, such a good question. And as I said, I'm really stuck because I think too much about the audience. And I think that, what does that mean? I must be risking control. I have to like let go and let them think what they think and let
That's
them,
yeah,
I think I have to let them just not like it. And
yeah.
the more I can give that up, I'm not like it, but,
No, I know
that's
you're
just
saying you're
that's
saying it
just
well, Sally.
brief. Yeah.
There's two things. You know, I interviewed a great singer the other day, and he's very confident. And I says, "What role does risk play in your creative process?" He goes, "I leave that in the dressing room." And it was so amazing because I mean, most people say risk is important, but he was one that said the opposite. Warhol said another thing that you evoke was just don't worry about what people think of your art, just keep making it. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, he got that from Soul DeWitt, not him.
so you're right. I
He
mean,
didn't
well, he
it's
got
not
it from the
Andy
best. I mean,
Yeah,
he got it
or you
from the
got it from the wrong it's not Andy Warhol who says that,
yeah,
it's Soul DeWitt.
yeah. Well, no, I do that a lot, but I'm saying the one I learned it from is when that's Zappa says genius is someone who steals and you can't tell who they stole it from.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
another one. He stole that from somebody else
yeah,
too.
yeah,
I know
and then
all these sources. That's
and
so
then
interesting.
T.S. Eliot said the mature poet steals, the immature poet imitates. So
Again, he's not the first one to say, "Where are you
where
testing me?"
who beat out T.S. Eliot? Because I always say he's the first one to say that.
Maybe he is the first one to say it, and then other people copied him,
Right.
actually.
Right. And that is the thing about aphorisms that I learned from studying McLuhan. The
Mm.
point of aphorisms is to take them a little farther and not like my friend says, Warhol says, in the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes. He says, no, in the future, everyone will have privacy for 15 minutes. So it's how you can find an epiphany in an aphorism and then take it a little farther, you
Mm.
know, and expand on it. So I'm for crediting people for originality, but in essence, it all goes back to like, what was the motive? And there's the next question. What was the motive of the cave artists, or let's say the cave dancers? Because we have documentation of cave art, but we don't really have documentation of cave music or cave dance.
Yeah,
It
you do,
might,
because they're making the dance came before the cave art.
I know it, I know, but the question is, what's your hunch or guess? What was their motive?
Their motive to dance?
Yeah,
Oh, they had dances for, make it rain, make it good luck for the hunt,
yeah,
dances for fertility. Yeah, they had all kinds of movement, dances to stay warm.
yeah,
Dances to stay warm, dances for rejoicing,
yeah,
dances for grief. Yeah, they had dances before they had the cave art. They made the
yeah.
cave art about the dances they did. That's
No,
what you'll see. Yeah,
yeah. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
conviction.
You've accomplished a lot. How do you rate these three elements? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
Oh my god. Luck, skill, and ambition. Um, boy, I just am gonna braid them.
Good. I like that. Braid
I'm gonna
'em.
braid the 3. This one, then this one, then this one, then this
Yeah. Well, I used to ask, is ambition based more on fear or joy? And so it was interesting. I
one.
learned how to shift the wording on my questions sometimes. That's one that shifted. So T.S. Eliot also said poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Um, it's a little sassy,
Oh, I like that word.
but it's also compassionate, like, "Oh, come on, sweetie," you know? But
That
it's a
is
little
those
bit
are
it's a little sassy, like, "Really? Are you
yeah.
gonna go there again? You're gonna do that again? Oh, come on,
Where'd you
sweetie."
get that, Sally, from the way your parents raised you or on your own? That sassiness.
I don't know, it's just a little sassy. Yeah, I mean, it's almost Sally, it's almost my name. But, I think that when you're growing up as a dancer in a mute ballet art form, obedient, quiet. There's a lot you're holding inside, and I think a lot of it grew there, where you have to be this innocent,
Yeah,
demure, quiet ingenue all the time, but inside you're like, you have a different dialogue.
yeah.
That's where I think that came from.
That is amazing, and I love you saying it's close to your word because it is true. Words evoke more than their meaning. It's like Sally, sassy. But I love the word sassy because it implies kind of a negative bias or a negative, it carries a little negative, but sassy can be cool. I mean, people who are sassy to me are aware and smart thinkers. They're critical thinkers, you know.
Yeah. Well,
But
we have that balance of, be quiet and listen and stay in your own lane, but also be strong and
yeah.
speak up.
Yeah, that's also, you talk about laughter. Your quotes in your book on laughter and death are amazing. And the one on laughter I love to quote is Gurdjieff said, "Laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no."
Mm. Yeah, I thank you. I do love the the humor, and
Yeah,
I love that poet in there. I just had to
yeah.
plant his entire poem in there. It was so great.
No, your book is very special. It's like the way books should be. So, two of my film heroes have this mantra: ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says there is no self-expression. And Cecil Taylor, the great jazz pianist, says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me.
I
So
like
it's
ignore myself. I'm gonna do
yeah.
that.
So
Ignore.
here's the question. Is art making, dance making more self-expression or more your vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
Um, Dance making, like I said, I'm having a fraught relationship with dance making right now. And I do have to go soon, by the way.
Okay.
Um, um, I just don't know. I can't answer that question.
Okay. Can art making, dance making be egoless?
I Well, can we ever be egoless? But I think it can be in the way that I think you're asking it. I think it can be, um, I have a lot of improvisation in my work, so I set up situations where, yeah, you do have to kind of respond or be a background for somebody else's work, somebody else's expression. In
Yeah.
improv, it's that way, and it's not always, um, often my work these days is not on a stage, it's not in a theater, so there is no focus on making it lit up. I don't mean lit in the trendy way of saying that. Um, yeah, I think you can be egoless. Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
do.
amazing because most people, Sally, answer it no. And one woman said about a year ago, great art is egoless. And then another woman said, great art has to be egoless. So just that you can entertain that because the word ego carries a lot of baggage. That's the thing. People think, it's more like you're the right there in Ohio, the guy who invented funk drumming, James Brown's drummer, he says, "Where'd you get your sound?" He goes, "I had a train track on one side of my house and a factory on the other, and so I heard boom, and he heard that his life, and then he made it into his drum sound." So it's like,
Wow.
how
Yeah.
do and then I love one of my favorites, if you haven't seen it or you probably read it, Twyla Tharp, she did that amazing thing, and at the beginning of her career, she made dance with no music because she probably knew the rest of her life she's gonna be choreographing all the great music people, and I was like, "No, I wanna do this without music for a while." And I was like, "Whoa, that was amazing." to me.
Yeah.
So, I
I'm
usually
so
ask
sorry I
clients.
have to go. This is gonna have to be our last question. I
Okay,
thought
and Sally,
sorry.
even though I asked for 90 minutes, so I hope we can plan a part 2 so we can get deeper. So here,
I thought it was, I apologize.
that's all right. That's all right. But we can plan a part 2, 6 or 5 or 6 months
Yes,
down the line. But
sure.
here's the last question. Hollis Frampton, an experimental filmmaker, said narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. Now, you tackle death a lot in your book.
Mm.
Here's the question: can you forget to die?
You can forget, you can pretend to be immortal, you can suspend, but we're all born dying.
Yeah,
We're born dying, and more people are realizing that.
yeah. The problem with that question is people don't know. They're usually like, "What do you mean can you forget to die? Do you mean can I forget that we're going to die?" And it's like, no, they're not sure whether I mean to take it literal or metaphorical. And you've used this word metaphor a lot, and I appreciate it because we're now exploring what's the difference between literal and metaphor because all words are metaphoric. So literal is a metaphor.
True.
Thank you so much for your time and energy, Sally. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much. I hope I get to see you next week.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Okay, bye,
Bye.
Sally. Thanks.